Welcome to a true story from the history of the Cripple Creek Mining District. This video is copyright 2026 by Thomas Saunders. On the afternoon of Sunday, the 24th of December, 1905, Mrs. Sarah Price and Mrs. Sarah Ault left Mrs. Ault's home for the home of William Price, Sarah Price's ex-husband, on East Carr Avenue in Cripple Creek, Colorado. After 6 years of marriage, the Prices had divorced in March of 1905. Sarah Price was still a young woman at only 27 years old and brought along her friend Sarah Ault, who was 41, for support. Their task that day was an important one, though Mrs. Price was awarded custody of the two Price children in the divorce, 3-year-old James and 2-year-old Marie. When the child support was raised from $25 to $30, William took them from Mrs. Price's home and brought them to his own home. Price had recently hired a housekeeper named Pearl Ebert who would help him with the children. That day, Mrs. Price had in her possession an order from Judge H. Thomas of the county court ordering William Price to release the little girl to her mother and to keep the little boy with him. About 3:30 p.m., Mrs. Price and Mrs. Ault arrived at the home of William Price and presented Mrs. Ebert with the court order. 3-year-old James wasn't at the home, and the housekeeper refused to let Mrs. Price see her daughter. Mrs. Ault started quarreling with her about it, and as the two shouted at one another, Mrs. Price located her daughter Marie and ran out the back door with her. In anger and frustration as she saw the mother and young girl leave, Mrs. Ebert shot Mrs. Ault in the chest with a .38 caliber handgun. Sarah Ault ran out the front door and collapsed on the porch, where she died a few minutes later. Police arrived a short time after that and placed Mrs. Ebert under arrest. She admitted that she had fired the shot. On the way to the jail, one of the officers heard her tell someone that the women had come to the house and raised trouble, and she killed one of them. At the jail, she said that the two women had beat her, but news accounts from the time say that the story doesn't match the statement of a girl who had been in the house at the time. William Price was arrested the evening of the shooting and held while it was decided whether to charge him with accessory to murder. When Sheriff Edward Bell saw the shooter at the jail, he called her Mrs. Carpenter. She had been arrested under that name earlier that year for stealing a horse and buggy from a livery stable. She had been found guilty of that crime and served 30 days in the Fremont County Jail. She told him that she had divorced her husband and was using her maiden name. The sheriff said that she had also been known to authorities under the names of Mrs. Gilhorn and Mrs. Gray. Only 4 weeks before the shooting, she had been ordered out of Cripple Creek. She left but quietly returned to town and started keeping house for William Price. On December 26th, a coroner's jury bound her over for trial. Mrs. Pearl Ebert was the first woman ever tried for murder in Teller County. Her defense attorneys didn't let her testify at the coroner's hearing. She was denied bail by Justice of the Peace S.G. Patrick. On the afternoon of December 27th, the murder victim, Mrs. Sarah Ault, was buried in Mount Pisgah Cemetery. Her husband was a member of the Eagles, and fellow members served as pallbearers. A month later, after a short trial on January 27th, the case was given to the jury in the evening. Mrs. Ebert had been on the witness stand most of the day, and reports were that her answers were strong and firm. She testified that Mrs. Ault started the fight by slapping her in the face. She said that she was beaten quite badly, and after a fierce struggle she got to the parlor and picked up her handgun, and that both women had a hand on the gun when it discharged. She denied the testimony of various officers who stated that she had boldly stated that she had shot the victim. After 50 minutes of deliberation, the jury announced that they had arrived at a verdict. When Mrs. Ebert was brought back in the courtroom to hear the reading of the verdict, she showed emotion for the first time during the trial when she broke down and sobbed. She was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter, and Judge Seeds sentenced her to 7 to 8 years in the state penitentiary. William Price, the husband in the divorce and one-time employer of Mrs. Ebert, passed away in 1908 at the age of 42 and is buried in the Mount Pisgah Cemetery, not far from Sarah Ault. Sarah Price, William's ex-wife, died in 1911 at only 33 years old and is buried in Evergreen Cemetery in Colorado Springs. Marie Price, the little girl at the center of the drama that resulted in Sarah Ault's shooting, moved to Florida in about 1917 and in 1918 at 16 years old was married. She had a fairly long life, and her obituary at her death in 1977 mentions that she was survived by 7 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. This is the end of our video. Thanks for watching.